What's up, basketball fans? Welcome to Pinoy Step, where court meets culture and the game never stops. I'm your host, Anton Rojas, and we are here to bring you the latest, the loudest, and the hottest takes from around the NBA.
From buzzer beaters to blockbuster trades, this is your front row seat to the NBA.
Here at Pinoy Step Podcast, we go deep into every play, every move, and the insider stories you won't hear anywhere else.
All the highlights, all the hot takes, walang mintis. This is the Pinoy Step Podcast, powered by the Arena Plus Network. Sama-sama sa arena.
First off, we'd like to give a huge shout out to all of our listeners, whether you are listening here in the Philippines or anywhere around the world. Maraming salamat po. Your support means so much to us, and we are just getting started. Of course, I am not riding solo today. Joining me is a guy who I'd like to describe as the Skip to my Stephen A., the Shaq to my Chuck, because we never agree on anything. We have, of course, my good friend, or is he, Christian Luanzon.
Thank you for that sweet and spicy introduction, Anton. And yes, you are even though with those words, you are the milk to my coffee as well.
Well, we didn't agree on a lot of things during our first episode, but let's see what happens here in today's episode because we have a lot to get to. All right, Who fans, let's get to our fast break where we run the floor and break down the hottest headlines from around the NBA. Just like a perfect transition play, it is quick, it is precise, so let's dive right in. Starting off with Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks, still dealing
New
with that
York!
sprained right ankle after stepping on Austin Reeves' foot. He's going to be vital to the success of Tom Thibodeau's Knicks, Christian.
No question. He's the heart and soul of this team, even though Anthony Towns is there. He's Mr. New York himself, 47-27 Knicks record as of today, April 1, 7-7 without Brunson. So heads above water. You're talking about a player, you put the ball in his hands and legit scorer. Always plays with his 2 feet, can create shots. And he's going to be crucial for them, especially how Thibodeau has increased their usage rate of, especially that first 5 of running them to the ground, so to speak. So they're going to need him. I don't think anyone is going to be paying thousands of dollars in the playoffs to watch Campaign, play the majority.
Wow.
I mean, Campaign's a decent player, but they want to see Brunson 40 minutes in the playoffs, and that's where he's gearing towards to, watching and reading some articles. He's saying that he's gearing himself towards the playoffs, meaning the individual awards doesn't really matter, but the 65-game rule, I guess, is referring to that.
Yeah.
Because he has a chance to be an all-NBA player once again, which he was last year. So I think it's going to be a big blow for his contract if he doesn't make All-NBA, but it's going to be a bigger blow for them if he's not 100% healthy in the playoffs.
Jalen Brunson is one of the players, Christian, that amazes me with regards to how his career went. He's a 2-time NCAA champion, but he was drafted 33rd overall in 2018. And now he's a 2-time All-Star. And among his teammates in Villanova, he was the 4th player drafted in his class.
Right.
So why do you think his career trajectory was like this? And obviously, it's a big advantage that his dad, Rick Brunson, played in the NBA as well.
No, to me, it's just hard work and dedication. Anytime a player like him of his size, there's always like a chip on your shoulder, because people are going to say this and that. And his stint in Dallas, that's where he really blossomed, especially if you remember that, playoff series, I believe, against Utah, wherein Luka was injured, I think game 4 or game 5. And then he stepped out big time against that Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert squad. And then they were able to pull off a game and then I think eventually win that series. But, I was surprised that Dallas didn't at least match yung offer. I think it was just a 50 million 4-year contract, something like that. And then obviously the Knicks offered him, I think, 100 million, and
Yeah.
so that was a no-brainer. And then it's New York, and then the ties to New York by his dad.
And now it is two straight conference semifinals with Jalen Brunson at the helm for the Knicks. They want to take it another level with Carl Anthony Towns. That was the main
It's gonna be a
reason
tough
they
one.
brought him in.
It's gonna be a tough one. I mean, the way it's shaping, the East, you could easily say it's going to be the Celtics and the Cavs. But then again, it's basketball. Bilog ang bola. Ika nga. And in the playoffs, anything can happen. It happened to the Knicks last year.
Yep.
And a lot of them were just falling down the ground like a bird, really, one by one, and then the injuries hit them. So I'm praying it doesn't happen. This is my wife's Marie's second favorite team behind the
okay.
Spurs. So that game when he got hurt, it was wild in our place sa bahay namin. So, but thankfully the Lakers won that game.
Speaking of the Lakers, you've got the Lakers championship shirt on. Let's talk about your Lakers.
Loud and proud.
I'm gonna make you give your take pretty much for this one. I'm just gonna mention the starting five as of right now for Coach JJ Redick's Lakers. You got Jackson Hayes
Yes,
at the
sir.
center spot, LeBron James, Rui Hachimura, and the backcourt of Austin Reeves and Luka Doncic.
Luka Magic.
What is the ceiling of this Lakers squad? Do you see them making it all the way to the finals, or is the ceiling a conference finals?
I'm actually worried. If you remember our recording last week, it seems like they're confident about that fourth seed.
Mm-hmm.
And putting them in the fourth seed because they won the other day against Memphis. They hold the tiebreaker. They're going to have home court. But the thing is, even if they win that series, ang ibig sabihin ng second round, makakatapat nila ang OKC. OKC is gonna breeze through the first round regardless of who wins. It would be a different story if Kyrie did not get hurt and then they end up in the 8th seed, for example. Dallas, OKC, maybe. But I'm kind of worried because I think this OKC team is legit. But nonetheless, we got Luka. I'm not saying it's impossible, but I stand by that they should go for that 3 or 6 spot, and matching up against the Rockets, who they're playing as of the moment, I think they have a better chance of making it to the conference finals. But hey, what do I know? We got Luka and LeBron. They feel confident even if it's OKC in the second round.
Let's get to our next topic, and this was shocking news to me. Okay, Taylor Jenkins, 44 and 29, 5th place in the West, gets fired after this is actually his 6th season as the head coach of the Memphis Grizzlies. And I want to get his name right. Memphis Grizzlies general manager, Zach Kleiman, took full responsibility with regards to this decision, and he gave 2 reasons as to why he
As he
decided
should.
to let him go.
Okay.
Sabi niya, it's the best interest of the team and the urgency. That's one of their core principles as an organization, and he feels that 5th place is not good enough.
Right. And you were surprised. I wasn't really. And that's because of the coach who replaced him, Tuomas Isalo. I hope I said it right. He's a former player. He played for Finland. I had the privilege last year when our team, the Fighting Maroons, were in Serbia for training. And then we attended a coaching clinic in Serbia. He was there. He was one of many coaches. And he's a decorated 43-year-old coach in Europe, won championships, played for the Bonn team, the Bundesliga. Only lost 2 games, his stint there. And then last year, only lost a game, I believe, when he transferred to Spain. Now, this is his first year as an assistant leading coach. That's why I'm not surprised. Because that team in Europe, he ran a system that was sort of like Mike D'Antoni-like, but more efficient way, and that defends better. Pace, space, a lot of screens, a lot of 3-pointers, a lot of screen slips, all the technicalities in that. was led by a 5'9" point guard named TJ Shorts. That was his main guy. And then they had undersized bigs who can shoot from the outside. Now, why am I saying this? Because it's very much similar to the composition of the team ngayon ng Memphis Grizzlies. They got a point guard, an all-star in Ja Morant, who could run the floor off a made or a missed basket. They have Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr., okay, who could shoot from the outside, who could defend as well. And then looking at their last game, parang 2 game pa lang siya kasi recent news lang to, di ba?
Yes.
Interesting stat. I don't think it's a coincidence because he likes to play little small ball, guys who can shoot from the outside. In their last game, okay, Zach Edey only played 12 minutes while Santi Aldama played 33 minutes at the center spot. And Santi Aldama from Spain, he can shoot from the outside, has good basketball IQ. Yan ang mga gusto niya. Ganun yung style of play niya. So, how will it work at this point of the season? Remains yet to be seen. I think, though, it's a good choice considering the kind of players they have that is fit to his style of play.
Looking at the starting unit, sometimes it's Zach Edey, sometimes it's Santi Aldama,
Right.
Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Wells, Desmond Bain, who is a pretty decent player, and Ja Morant, of course.
Let me add to that, Anton. I believe they had the best, the Spain team that he last handled in Europe. They had the best offensive net rating in the history of EuroLeague, and some say even better than the NBA. That's kind of far-fetched to me because the NBA is a different league, but it's still impressive. So I think he wants to, incorporate that kind of style. Sa Memphis.
All right, before we leave this topic, I just want to highlight what Taylor Jenkins has done for the Memphis Grizzlies and whether this firing was justified or not. First season with Memphis, missed the playoffs. Second season, first round exit. Third season, his best season as the head coach of Memphis, second round exit. Fourth season, first round exit. Fifth season, missed the playoffs. Sixth season, they're going to make the playoffs, but as Zach Kleiman said, they got high standards, they have a sense of urgency, and fifth place is not good enough.
That's true. They got a small window. The way I'm seeing this move, there are rumors as well. If Ja Morant is the guy for them, we all know his history, especially the past 2 seasons, his issues off the court. Now, this year, the issues has been more basketball-like, more of injuries. And if he can stay healthy, that's been the issue. So far, they're 5th in the West. Keep it right there, 5th. Okay. We want to have home court advantage for my Lakers. Okay. But, again, if this style fits them and then they buy into it, to tell you honest, Anton, to be honest, I'm kind of worried. I'm kind of worried because, as you know, okay, we only have Jackson Hayes, which last week I was high on, but this week not so much anymore.
Okay, I'll tell you this though. I think I would take Jackson Hayes over Zach Edey at this point. Okay,
it depends. It depends. Yeah, it's. Jackson Hayes is a better fit with the Lakers rather than having Zach Edey, with Luka and LeBron.
I'm happy that you're very realistic and you're tempering expectations for your ball club, Christian Luanzon. All right.
Well, ganun ang Lakers eh. Blinded by the truth kami lagi.
Okay, you talked about health. Stephen Curry, back in the lineup for Golden State. Yeah, after that scary fall wherein he was clutching his back. We talked about this during... Yeah, and we talked about this during our first episode, Christian. This might be the last run of Stephen Curry and Draymond Green for another championship after bringing in Jimmy Butler. 17-4 as of this recording. Yan ang record ng Golden State when Jimmy Butler arrived. Steph Curry coming back at the age of 37, 16th season. Does he have enough legs? Does he have enough juice, gas in the tank to lead them to another championship?
A championship? I don't think so, especially this season. I think seeding is gonna play a role as well. But if that trade happened, maybe before the season, then maybe the way they've been playing, right now, okay, they would be maybe at the third or fourth seed. But it's kind of hard to tell also kasi sino rin yung ibababa mo, no? And then considering the age that you just mentioned, but it's just tough to bet against the Warriors. You're talking about the Warriors, right? And this is arguably my second team. I was born in the Bay Area. Fun fact. Okay, you know. Nakuha mo yung tono? But kidding aside, yes, Laker at heart. But I had a chance to watch the Warriors play last year. You know, the game where it was a regular season game against the Sixers where Embiid got hurt. Yung napatungan siya ni Kuminga.
Yes.
Yeah, I was there.
Wow.
I was there. And it was just unfortunate, but watching that whole thing, how Steph, warmed up, it made me a Warrior fan, to be honest. Iba pag nandun ka eh. So, and then his warm-ups, talagang hindi nagmimintes. But, going back, this small lineup, if I may add, of Pods, Pajemski, Curry, Butler, Draymond Green, and Moses Moody, 10-0 with that small lineup.
Wow.
So, yung matchup nila, so far, if the playoffs started today, they're gonna go up against the Joker.
Oh, man.
So, contrasting style, right? I mean, the best player in the world, 7-footer, against a small lineup. It's gonna be interesting. I'm taking the Nuggets in 6 games.
Yeah, I'm afraid for Golden State going up against the Nuggets. Actually, I'm afraid for anyone going up against Denver, especially in the first round. But before we leave this Golden State headline, Christian, kanino ka mas natatakot? If you're LA, of course. Sa Memphis o sa Golden State?
I like Golden State better.
Wow.
I like Golden
you'd
State
rather
better.
play Golden State than Memphis?
Yeah, because number one, the age difference, Memphis is a younger team. Kaya ayoko makamatch up ang OKC. Because, we're not too old, the Lakers.
Yeah.
But I think, that we're a better matchup against teams like the Warriors, the Nuggets, teams who's been there, yes, has experience, but a little older.
That's an interesting take.
Yeah, I think it's because, I think bottom line, OKC is legit. I think they're reaching the conference finals. That's why meeting them in the second round to me is sort of like a dead end for the Lakers. And I hope they prove me wrong.
All right. Giannis Antetokounmpo made some interesting comments after LeBron James made some interesting comments, a lot actually, while guesting on the Pat McAfee show.
Right.
One of the things na sinabi ni LeBron James was that if Giannis played in the 70s, he would score 250 points. My goodness. And when he said that, I did my research and looked at who were the best players during the 70s. So we're looking at Pistol Pete Maravich, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Walt Frazier, Bob McAdoo, and Bob Lanier. Now, these guys are legit.
Right.
What do you think about LeBron's comment that Giannis would score 250 in the 70s?
I think it was exaggerated. Maybe 120. But I think the point of LeBron is how freak of a train Giannis is, and playing in that era. Now, he could have chose a different era, particularly the 80s. But the 80s, this was an era wherein Magic was like a train too. Not a freak of a train, but he was a train going downhill.
Yeah.
And then obviously Larry Bird. Now, he wasn't a train, but he could pull out his leg and trip the train, if you know what I mean, the way he played. But the 70s, if a specimen like Giannis was there, I mean, he would be the best athlete, no question.
Yep.
And then the way he would score the basketball, even off made baskets, probably score a layup in 3 seconds with 3 dribbles during that time.
Giannis was very gracious with his response, actually. He said he has a lot of respect for the players who played in different eras. It's a different generation. But if you're going to look at it, kung ilalagay mo si Giannis with his knowledge of the past and the evolution of the basketball players, yes, I would actually think that he'd average 40. Personally, if
Yeah.
you put him in the 70s,
Yeah.
and those guys from the 70s have never seen moves that Giannis does, like running downhill, sidestepping, and dunking,
Right.
magugulat yung mga yan.
Right.
That's like saying, for example, this might be a funny analogy. Let's say Richie Rivero plays in the time of Nelson Asaitono,
Ooh.
and Richie Rivero does the
Ooh.
Pinoy step. Magugulat si the Bull.
Right.
But in the same breath, if Richie Rivero is guarding Nelson Asaitono
Yeah.
on the fast break,
Mamamatay si Richie.
diba? So it's a different style. Magugulat si the Bull.
Yeah, that's my
because
former player.
He's
That's a
never seen a
champion.
Pinoy step, right? He's gonna get lost, but then yung ganti naman ni the Bull, babanggain niya si Richie.
Right.
So it's a different thing when from the 70s and the generation now.
Well, I think bottom line, it's always tough to compare eras because number one, the rules were different. Okay. Even the environment they were in. I mean, think about the 60s. We're in how blacks in particular were treated, all the Bill Russell stories. Imagine dealing with that on top of the basketball side of it and not making enough money during that time compared to this era wherein you sign a contract even before, if you're a blue chip player, you sign a contract in college, okay, or let alone like LeBron before he steps on the NBA floor, signing a 7-year, $100 million contract with Nike, and then just a totally different era, different situation, both social, economic, and all that. Now, from a basketball standpoint, okay, the way they pack the paint, I don't know, hindi ko alam kung may illegal defense na ba nun? Remember, may illegal defense? We're 90s.
90s,
tayo, di ba?
yes.
So, I guess, kung merong mga illegal defense nung 70s and then Giannis was there, then mas maluwag yun. Kahit anong kulay yun. Red Sea, White Sea, Green Sea, Blue Sea, Yellow Sea. Lahat nun dadakdakan ni Giannis with his speed up and down the floor and his strength inside the paint.
All right, before we end our fast break, top of mind, Christian, who is one player in the history of the NBA that you feel can be effective and the star in any era?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan. Even in this
Yeah,
era.
finally.
Even in this era.
Finally, we agree.
No, because like, okay, if you put Michael Jordan in this era, I feel like he will start working on his threes. I feel like he will try to extend his range. Because during the 90s, he explained that he did not want to work on his threes because it would take away from his post-game and mid-range game, which he felt was a high percentage or better shot.
Maybe. Let me ask you something.
All right.
Sino pipiliin mo? This is no-brainer. But I just want to ask you for the sake of it. Okay?
Yeah.
Sino pipiliin mo? Jordan or SGA?
Jordan, come on.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
But come to think of it, there's a lot of similarities to their game, especially the in-between, the mid-range.
Yeah.
We talked about this last week. SGA, how slick he is of getting to his spots, mid-range, pull-ups. Yan ang laro niya eh. You wouldn't necessarily say that he's a three-point shooter. But he can shoot the three ball, right? Not sure what the numbers are, but I'm gonna assume about 4 or 5 attempts per game at the three. Okay, OKC is about 120 points per game. He's playing about 32 minutes per game. So think about Jordan. The way he gets to the basket, the way he gets to his spots. My question is what version of Jordan? The first Grand Slam Jordan or the second one? Because para sa akin, dalawang magkaiba yon. Yung efficiency niya sa perimeter kakaiba nung second.
I like the second
I like the
version
second
better.
one too. I like the
Yeah.
second one. He still had some hops.
Yeah, that's the you reach, I teach Jordan.
Right.
But you know what? Iba yung sagot ko sa'yo eh. Surprisingly ha, I feel like if there's one
So we
player...
disagree.
Hindi, kasi look, ako yung reasoning ko kasi.
Mm.
Si Jordan never developed his three-point game.
Mhm.
He never extended his range
But-
because he never had to. But if
His
there's a guy...
iconic shrug.
Yeah,
How many
yeah,
threes did he have?
I get that, partner. But if we're going to think about a player who can play in any era, ang iniisip ko dito, yung pinaka well-rounded. And to me, it's actually LeBron. I would think that the most well-rounded
You're a
player
fake
in the history.
Jordan fan.
No, come on. Jordan
You're a
never had...
fake Jordan
He
fan.
never had to develop his three-point shot. Okay? Because he played in the 90s. But that's what I'm saying. If he played in today's era, he would have to work on it. And we know about Jordan's work ethic, okay? So I just want to put that out there. But wow, that's surprising to me. He went for MJ. Nice shoes. And I went for LeBron, for a player who can fit in any era. Man, that was a crazy rundown of the hottest headlines around the NBA. Ngayon naman, since palapit na tayo sa playoffs, we're going to talk about the most important players in terms of yung pagiging X-factor ng bawat kupunan na papasok sa NBA playoffs. And we will also talk about some of the players on the teams that are in the play-in because they also have a chance to make the playoffs. This is our X-factor segment. Let's get right to it. First up, from the OKC Thunder, 26 years old, 7 foot tall, American-German, Isaiah Hartenstein. I'm very impressed with this guy, Christian, because this is his 7th season in the NBA. He was hopping around different teams. He played in Houston, he played in Denver, Cleveland, Clippers, New York,
Right.
and I feel like he has finally found a home with the OKC Thunder.
Right. I've always liked this game ever since he was with the Clippers. Sorry, hindi ko mabanggit yung team nila. Clippers. Sorry. The other team from LA.
Oh, man.
Okay.
The slander.
Yeah.
The Clippers
Yeah,
slander.
and then from that clip to New York, that's where he had his breakout season last year. Okay, and then he benefited, because Mitchell Robinson was in and out of the lineup, and then got hurt, and then saw a lot of time in the playoffs. Had some big moments for them, whether it's a big offensive rebound or a stick back or a pass. I think isa sa mga underrated sa laro niya, how he can facilitate as a decision maker, averaging a double-double this season for OKC. Started the year with an injury, but what does he give? Bakit siya kinuha ng OKC? Because it gives them flexibility to have a big lineup and a small lineup or a medium-sized lineup. You put him in, you put Holmgren at the 4. Yan ang gusto ni Anthony Davis.
Yes.
Yan ang gusto ni Anthony Davis. That's why Anthony Davis was traded. Because hindi siya na masaya sa LA as, stated by Jeannie Buss a few days after the trade. He wasn't happy. Yan ang ginawa ng OKC. It's more for, their second superstar in the making, future starting 5 in the Olympics in 2028, Chet Holmgren. That's why malaking pickup to, no? Si Hartenstein and si Caruso. And Hartenstein, he gives you that ability to switch on pick and rolls when they play big. Defend the rim, obviously. He's a rim runner. He can also be a decision maker on those zoom actions, on those handoffs, slipping, and then defensively, just being a disruptor, especially on ball screen situations.
3-year, $87 million contract.
That's a good bargain.
Ganado itong si Isaiah Hartenstein.
That's a good bargain.
You know what? I think OKC, the reason why they're number 1 right now, 62 wins and 12 losses, they're the deepest team in the NBA.
Yeah.
They're not just deep, they're young. I mean, look at this rotation. Starting 5, you have Hartenstein, Williams, Dort, Wallace, and SGA.
Right.
And then on the bench, you have Kendrick Williams, Isaiah Joe,
Aaron Wiggins.
Holmgren, and Caruso. Sometimes Holmgren starts. So
Aaron Wiggins.
Wow, Wiggins also as well. So that's 10 deep.
Aaron Wiggins taking a leap this year from 6.9 points to double digits, about almost 12 points per game. He's emerged as a guy who could score as well, sort of like a Levert, who you can give the ball to at times and can score in stretches, or maybe a DeAndre Hunter. Again, this is a young team, okay, who can defend, and I'm very high on teams who could play two way. And you look at the history of the NBA, the teams who win, the two-way teams, always two-way teams. That's why I'm worried about my Lakers. But if they think, because they have Luka and LeBron, that they can beat them, then let's see.
Let's go to another young team. Number 2 right now in the West, and the X Factor on Ime Udoka's Houston Rockets is the 22-year-old Amen Thompson, 6'7", 4th overall pick in 2023. Another one of those players who came straight out of high school.
Freak of an athlete. Silang dalawa, ni Asar from Detroit. 6'7", with a ridiculous 7-foot wingspan. Are you kidding me? And then has the physical tools to impact both ends. Again, another two-way player. So same as Hartenstein. Okay, you're talking about a guy who you can switch on pick and rolls, match up against, let's say, LeBron. I mean, he's going to have a hard time, but I don't think LeBron's going to have an easy time also. So he's the type of player that runs those outside lanes and can dunk on anyone with his athleticism, capable of creating opportunities. Has shown some playmaking in Houston. They're a deep team as well. Well coached. Ime Udoka, the history. He brought the Celtics to the finals. The turnaround here with this franchise of becoming a non-playoff team. And then now a playoff team. The Rockets defense still at work. But I like what I'm seeing with Amen Thompson.
And I'm happy that they're thriving with our kababayan Jalen Green. What a backcourt. Fred VanVleet. And you have Jalen Green. And man, when Jalen Green and Amen Thompson are on the fast break, it's scary.
Yeah. I mean, you just got to pick your poison, especially when they're in transition. Ito ba, dadakdakan ako nito ng isang kamay, yung isa, dalawang kamay. Sasabayan ko ba to? Or draw a charge? Again, yung trend ng NBA ngayon, that's why the advantage goes to the young players.
Yeah.
Because teams now, GMs, it seems like they put their faith more on those young guys rather than the vets. And then having vets on the team is important. And usually you would add 1, 2, or 3. But you look at the dynamic ngayon ng mga teams, magdadagdag sila. Iilan lang talaga. So kudos to the GM of Houston.
Grabe, may Steven Adams pa sila, Aquaman on the bench. So huge enforcer to watch out for these young guys of the Rockets. All right, let's go to the next team, Denver. I mentioned during our first episode, this is a team that I'm very high on. Championship team back in 2023. Of course, one of the X factors here, a guy who has earned his place as the starting shooting guard, Christian Brown.
Right. First of all, beautiful first name. Second, how about the risk? I think it was calculated risk. There are cities wherein we always say leadership starts from the top, from management, right? Because ito yung mga decision makers mo. So let's not forget the decision they had to face, whether to sign KCP to a contract, to an extension, and they chose not to, and that's because of Christian Brown.
Yep.
And for a lot of reasons. Number one, to save money. Number two, they saw something in him.
Yeah.
That, that has a ceiling that, they think that he could reach by now in this Jokic era, in this window. Let's not forget, Jokic just turned 30, right? 29, something like that. So anytime you have a player like Jokic, you're playing with that window of championships, so that you already won one, So they're banking on Christian Braun. Okay, heavy minutes, energy and hustle, high motor, a guy who could finish in transition. Let's not forget that trademark play early in the season, that dunk on Rudy Gobert. Okay, so he has hops. And yung combination nila ni Russell Westbrook.
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes it's him starting, sometimes it's Westbrook, depending on the availability of Jamal Murray. But he's going to be key for them if he could knock down shots. If they play the Lakers, for example, one thing that the Lakers, the way they defend, okay, is that they're going to let other people beat you. And they're going to make sure that guys like Bron take 3-point shots, open 3-point shots. So if it's up to him, he could be a make or break kind of guy.
Yeah.
In a defining game or a defining shot series type of way. So you're looking at yung ganyang importance niya sa team.
Yeah, because you know what you're gonna get from Joker. You know what you're gonna get from Gordon, MPJ, and Murray, Russell Westbrook. Sometimes he's good. Sometimes he's bad. He's a double-edged sword. But
he's been great for them this year.
Yes. But Christian Braun, I just want to say, in the past 2 seasons, his first 2 seasons in the NBA, in the regular season, he only started 10 times. As of this recording, 71 out of the 73 games of Denver, Brown has started.
Right.
So this is a guy who really earned his place in a starting lineup in the NBA. So hats off to Christian Braun.
And the third best team in the league at this point.
Yep. All right. Let's talk about the Lakers' highest draft pick this year.
Number
Dalton
17.
Connect, 23 years old, 6'6". He was almost shipped to Charlotte for Mark Williams, but the trade was rescinded.
Thank God.
Wow. Okay. So you're happy.
I love Dalton.
You're happy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I think we can get another big on that regard in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
To me, okay, from the outside looking in, I thought it was just showing Luka, that you need another big.
Yep.
They did that trade and then rescinded it. I don't know what's behind that, even if it was true or not true.
Yeah,
but it was more of proving to Luka they're willing to do whatever it takes, to put those pieces that would complement his game. But I think Dalton can be a complement to him as well. Although they need another big, obviously. But you talk about Connect, I think underrated din yung kanyang athleticism. We saw the highlights in college of him being a spot-up shooter, coming off the ball, coming off screens. But the way he finishes, even dunks on people in the NBA. And I think his most impressive game this season, even though it was a lost cause, was, when Luka and LeBron were out. I think it was 2 or 3 weeks ago in Denver. And then he scored about 33 or 35 points on 20 attempts.
Yeah, he can get off given the minutes.
Right. And he showed that during the preseason as well. And I think defensively he's gonna have to be better. Watching him, that desire to play defense, it's what's getting him in trouble also in the rotation. Kaya lagi siyang nasisigawan or madalas siya nasisigawan ni JJ Redick. Nakikita yan sa TV. During timeouts and the things that they point out. But he's a rookie. I'm sure he's gonna blossom and grow.
Yeah, there was that viral play, sabi ni JJ Redick sa kanya, that's your bleeping play.
Exactly.
35.8% from beyond the arc. That's pretty impressive for a rookie. All right. Let's go to another rookie, Zach Edey. 7'4", 22 years old from Toronto, Canada. I would say for 22 years old, decent numbers. 9.3 points per game, 7.7 rebounds per game, 57.5% field goal shooting. Not bad.
Not bad. But just like what we touched on earlier with the coaching change, I think you're gonna see less of Zach Edey. Minsan ang buhay ng mga players, their careers nakasalalay din sa coaches. And it's just one of those situations wherein the style of play does not fit the type of player that he is. At 7'4", almost 300 pounds. Obviously, he's a guy that's not gonna run with the team during not even a fast break, but even in those primary breaks. Papasok ng secondary. And Isalo, he likes to play fast. Even if a made basket, he wants to see a layup on the other end the first 6 seconds. And there's a small sample size, just like what I mentioned last game, not playing much, and then Santi Aldama getting it. But given the matchup, especially in the playoffs, maybe they go up against Denver, then you're gonna need him, that extra body, to at least limit.
He
Try
can
to be
try.
nice.
He can try.
Try to limit a rookie
He
against a 4-time MVP. Jokic.
he needs to eat a lot of steaks in the offseason. I probably see him bulking up in 2 years, but this year is going to be a stretch to try to limit a guy like Nikola Jokic if
Right.
ever they see each other in the playoffs. But as you said, new coach. We're expecting his playing time to drop under Coach Taylor Jenkins, 48 starts in 59 games.
Right.
But like you said, it depends also on the situation that you are thrown in that will dictate the trajectory of your career sometimes. All right, let's talk about a fourth-year player from the Golden State Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga, another young guy, 22 years old, 6'7", loads of potential. Draymond Green called him the future superstar of Golden State. But I just feel like itong si Kuminga, he always yung situation niya, he always has to play behind the veteran. Like he was playing behind Andrew Wiggins.
Right.
And then just when you thought that he was going to be a full-time starter, here comes Jimmy Butler. So we're sort of waiting for that breakout season from Kuminga.
Well, Jonathan Kuminga, same with Amen Thompson, I think has the tools to become a great two-way player in the league. Superstar, I don't know. All-star, maybe. Okay? And, to your point, it depends because we talked about that championship window, and obviously the Warriors, are putting everything in, throwing all the chips on that Steph Curry window, that Steph Curry window. And Jimmy Butler, even with the trade, signed him to an extension. But let's not forget, he's 35 years old.
Yeah.
So it can be good and bad for him because the age is there already for Jimmy Butler, who's kumbaga in his starting spot. Nabanggit natin kanina and during fast break that that small lineup has been 10-0 so far. And trust me, Steve Kerr doesn't really care about how you feel if and there's been a lot of history between him and Kerr already 2 seasons ago when he was not seeing playing time.
Yeah.
And then he would speak to the media about it.
Yep.
Si Kuminga about it. So I don't know how that dynamic would be because with Steve Kerr, his focus is really on the team right now. And maybe if he transfers to another team, I don't know. But I think they're still going to need him because one thing that Kuminga brings to Golden State is added depth and flexibility, especially on the defensive end.
I feel like he was the same as Jordan Poole, but obviously Poole got a little bit cocky after winning the championship, and of course the rest is history with the thing that happened between him and Draymond Green. Kuminga, I feel, just has to stay patient. Remember, this is a guy who entered the NBA at the age of 18.
Right.
He's only 22 years old now. Again, fourth
Sabay
season
sila
in
ni
the
Green.
NBA. Yeah. So I feel like he has to stay patient because as you mentioned, Jimmy Butler, 35 years old, Stephen Curry, 37 years old.
Yeah.
They need the next guy to carry and continue the Golden State Warriors tradition. And Kuminga is definitely in those plans.
No question. Yeah, that's why I think he just has to maximize his time here and just gather everything that he can gather, that playoff experience. Now he has a championship already.
Yep.
Right? now, and he wasn't seeing a lot of minutes during that time, especially in the playoffs. But how many young guys in less than 5 years in the league can say that they played this many games or has a championship already in the NBA? And that's something that people cannot take away from him.
Let's go to Minnesota, and their X factor will most likely be Naz Reid. Now, I know recently he was in the headlines for the wrong reasons,
Right.
but this guy provides a lot of versatility for his ball club.
No question. I mean, a big reason why, aside from saving money, Minnesota was willing or eventually pulled the plug on Carl Anthony Towns for money reasons and for other reasons, maybe, is because of Naz Reid. Now, Julius Randle, in a way they play the same, but Naz Reid is a better shooter.
Mm.
And at times looks to be a better defender than Randle and is younger than Julius Randle. Now, Randle's situation is going to be different, especially after this season. But if Randle decides to leave, you're looking at a guy who could start for you. Now, I believe his contract is up as well for next season. It's going to be interesting to see how much Minnesota is willing to pay him. But he's going to be a key contributor, even though yung laro nitong Minnesota this season bumaba, no? And obviously a big part of that is yung pagkawala ni Karl Anthony Towns. Now, his thing defensively, Naz Reid, he brings toughness, sometimes too much. Okay? Especially with the recent happenings. Nakakahawa pa. Nahawa si DiVincenzo. Di ba? These are just two dogs, looking out for each other. But him, McDaniels, and alongside, obviously, their top dog is Anthony Edwards. They can be scary in the playoffs, even though they're seeded right now in the play-in.
Pinoy Step Podcast is brought to you by Arena Plus Network, your ultimate fast break to NBA action. Stay updated with the latest takes by subscribing to the Arena Plus Network and Pinoy Step Podcast YouTube channel. Listen and rate us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. Your support is like a perfect assist. It helps keep the show going. Sama-sama sa Arena.
Every champion has a story. And behind every success, there's a journey.
Alam mo yung feeling na parang gusto mong sumuko pero lumalaban ka pa rin?
Dahil sa support system, sa passion, at syempre sa sariling determinasyon. Lahat tayo may kwento. And here, we share ours with you.
PB&J is all about the struggles, the wins, and the journey in between. PB&J, Peanut Butter and Jella. Brought to you by Arena Plus Network. Sama-sama sa Arena.
Basketball is more than just the game. It's the culture, the players, and the stories behind every shot.
Anong pakiramdam na maglaro sa finals?
Paano nga ba talaga ang buhay ng isang pro player?
At anong mga kalokohan ang nangyayari sa dugout?
Lahat yan at marami pang iba pag-uusapan natin dito sa Basketboleros.
Kung mahal mo ang laro, mas lalo mong mamahalin ang podcast na to. Hosted by Ranidel de Ocampo and GB Labrador. Brought to you by the Arena Plus Network. Sama-sama sa Arena.
So napag-usapan na natin yung ilan sa mga X factors ng mga kupunan who are in the upper level of the playoff race. And daanan lang natin siguro, Christian, yung mga iba pang mga X factors with the teams na naghahabol for playoff positioning. I have this question about this particular player from the LA Clippers who
Ben Simmons?
I was a huge fan of this guy.
Me too.
And I really thought that when he was with the Sixers, I thought the process would be complete, especially when they had that starting unit of Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris, Jimmy Butler, JJ Redick, and of course, the guy that you just mentioned, Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons.
Yeah, they might as well call him Ben Simmons because he hasn't been Ben Simmons since passing up that open dunk in the playoffs against Atlanta, may pag-asa pa ba itong si Ben Simmons na bumalik sa kanyang all-star form?
I don't think so. I mean, it's not impossible, but it's been so many years after that incident, right? And I don't think the dunk was a problem. It's the aftermath of that, of how he approached that. But some of it, maybe because of Philadelphia, how they did not protect him after that as well. The comments of maybe Doc Rivers. But even though I thought he should have recovered from that, considering that at that point of his career, he was an all-star already. Now, that being said, now with the Clippers, okay, different role. At the minimum, I think he's like a Westbrook. He can contribute to the team. He has a lot of length, similar to the players we mentioned earlier. Guys who could defend, switch on ball screens. In the NBA, that's a big deal. Because the less rotations you have, the more na hindi ka having two players on the ball. And NBA players, especially on the offensive side, are so good, they're so talented, that you can't leave them open. That's why sa NBA 2K, automatic. Pag open yung NBA player at maganda yung shooting. Di ba? And sa NBA, ganun eh. So when you switch, when you have that lineup on the floor, the players who have the ability to switch, okay, ang laking bagay sa depensa mo. And the way this team is constructed during the offseason, the hiring of Jeff Van Gundy, yung leading defensive coach nila, and adding a Ben Simmons, the clip, the other LA team, that is no joke. Okay.
Kung
maganda yung arena dyan.
Oo, I was just about to say, kung pagandahan ng arena, champion itong
Yes.
LA Clippers.
Yes.
Yung kulay pa lang red and blue sa bawat upuan. Okay.
How about the irony na binanggit mo kanina?
Yeah.
Si Ben Simmons, no, after that season, ang yumari sa kanya, si Kawhi Leonard, kakampi niya na ngayon.
Exactly. That's a great point.
And can you imagine the locker room?
Hindi, tsaka yung player na trinade sa kanya. Si James Harden.
James Harden.
Diba? Brooklyn to Philadelphia.
Right.
Grabe magkakampi. That's how fast you can
Circle of life.
Yeah. Man, Ben Simmons, it's been downhill since that night in Atlanta. Alright, daanan lang natin to. Chris Murray of Portland.
Right.
Grayson Allen of Phoenix. Jaden Hardy of Dallas. I think among these three players, I would say because Kyrie Irving, unfortunately, is out for this season, I think Hardy would make the most significant impact among those three players.
Walang duda kasi as we speak, itong Dallas is in the 10th spot.
4-game winning streak.
Right? Ever since AD came back.
Yeah.
AD, so far.
Signs of life.
Yeah.
Signs
AD
of
so
life.
far, 4-0. 4-0.
Yeah.
So who said they lost the trade? Okay. And we could kid ourselves that they won it. So, but, Spencer Dinwiddie has been playing well for them. But you're right, among these three players, because, Portland, I don't think they're going to make it even to the play-in. Who's the other guy?
KD got hurt, so
KD got
I don't know.
hurt.
Grayson
Allen
is playing with Devin Booker.
Right.
He's not gonna get the ball with D Book around.
Right. And even from Miami, di ba? Kel Elware, I don't think he's even in the lineup. I just checked the last game. So, no question. Among the three, si Hardy, siyang may potential na magkaroon ng mas magandang impact with the remaining games and maybe in the playoffs.
Hey, and I'm not mad at this starting lineup of the decimated Dallas Mavericks. You have Kai Jones, but of course, inaabangan pa natin si Derek Lively coming back. And the other center, who's the other center? Is at the tip of my tongue.
Me too.
sa tagal nilang nawala, nakalimutan na natin especially with the arrival of AD.
Yeah.
'Di ba dalawa yan, 'di ba?
Something G.
Gafford.
Yeah.
Daniel
G.
Gafford.
Yeah.
My apologies. Daniel Gafford, Derek Lively, probably the best center combination na hindi superstar, na hindi superstar. Good rotation. Of course, their superstar is AD, and PJ Washington, Klay Thompson, Spencer Dinwiddie. Sa lahat ng mga masasamang bagay na nangyari sa Dallas, I'm not mad at that starting five.
Yeah, it's just
Lalaban pa rin
unfortunate.
yan.
Just unfortunate.
All right, so that wraps up our X Factor discussion with regards to the Western Conference. Let's go now to the East. All right, let's continue our discussion here on Pinoy Step with regards to the X Factors of the teams that are most likely advancing to the playoffs. We talked about the teams in the West, the X Factors on those ball clubs. Ngayon naman, pag-usapan natin yung mga X Factors pagdating sa Eastern Conference. Starting off with the 27-year-old, 6'7",
DeAndre Hunter.
big man, number 12, DeAndre Hunter, who found a home dito sa Cleveland after 6 years. 6.5 actually in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Because this was a mid-season trade deadline transaction that I feel was a great move by Cleveland.
Yeah, I don't think anyone saw this coming. Not even people from the NBA world. And just goes to show that how Cleveland believes in this group. They've been number one pretty much in the Eastern Conference the whole year. And great pickup. You said big man. He's a big man that plays small.
Yep.
Has that ability to play small. He's a dead shot, spot up shooter. Has that ability to defend. And obviously, this was a matchup kind of trade. Looking ahead, assuming that they go to the Eastern Conference Finals against the Boston Celtics, because we all know how potent yung lineup na yun, ng Celtics of Tatum, Brown at the 4 and 3, Kristaps, Derek White, Drew Holiday, and then Al Horford into the mix, playing that big and small lineup as well. And you add DeAndre Hunter, he's not gonna stop Jason Tatum. Okay? Let's make that clear. But that extra body, that extra inch, 2 inches, 3 inches, you know what they say about American football? It's a game of inches. It's the same thing with basketball. Levert, right? George Niang. Mas malaki to si Hunter, mas mahaba. Wingspan. So, even a challenge, for example, game on the line, Tatum with the last shot, okay? Up by 1 ang Cleveland, a pivotal game.
Hunter will have the fear of God in his eyes.
And then Hunter, okay, stays disciplined, gives a good contest, doesn't even block the shot, but gives a good contest enough to force a miss kay Tatum. And it's because of those extra 2 to 3 inches. So that's what you get with DeAndre Hunter, okay?
I'd still bet on Tatum though.
You'd still bet on Tatum, sure, okay? And at the same time, you get a young player that you could build on with this young core and with Allen and Garland and Mitchell.
Good pickup. And can I just say, before we move on to the next X Factor, that shirt does not get manufactured if DeAndre Hunter does not get traded for AD.
Yes. Because he was originally...
I don't mean he was traded directly for AD, of course. He was involved in the trade that eventually landed AD in LA.
And then eventually Hunter from New Orleans, the trade to Atlanta.
All right, let's go to Boston. And this is a player who I describe as the
people's champ.
People's champ, but if you're rooting against Boston, he's the most annoying guy because he hurts you in unexpected ways, because you know what you're gonna get from Jaylen Brown, you know what you're gonna get from Jason Tatum, you know what you're gonna get from Kristaps, and even Al Horford. But Peyton Pritchard, the hustle, the intangibles, the scoring burst on occasion, nakakainis yan if you're rooting against Boston.
And I think he has charisma that he doesn't even know. I feel that if you ask he's second to Tatum. When you ask a survey sa Boston that who's your second favorite player, I think there's gonna be a lot of Pritchard names in that ballot compared to Jaylen Brown. He's just one of those guys wherein you the first time you watch a basketball game, you're gonna fall in love with. The way he conducts himself on the court, the way he defies all the odds. Pag hindi mo kilala, basketball player ba to? Diba? And then
Maliit lang kasi, 6'1",
diba?
and he's white.
But once you see him run, dribble the basketball, shoot the basketball, defend the other player, how intense he is, how engaged he is, and how big time he is. Siya na yung laging buzzer beater. Whether it's coming from 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. He always has those yung ganong trademark sa mga laro.
And he is playing the best basketball of his career. He's averaging a career high 14.2 points per game. So in a way, Boston just got better in terms of their bench rotation. Now let's go to another X factor. And I feel like this guy
Former
is
Laker.
the epitome of what a glue guy is all about in the NBA.
Another Villanova
Yep.
champion.
Josh Hart.
Oh, Josh Hart, no? And it's amazing. It's amazing how the Lord really works. Because you get, the way you see him plays is exactly his surname. He plays with a lot of heart. Minus the E. Diba? But you talk about a player undersized and getting double-digit rebounds, not only in regular season games, but in the playoffs when it matters the most. And I don't think he's probably the same height as me. I stand about 6'4". Okay. And he looks to be just about the same. He's listed at 6'5", I think. But you know about the NBA in those extra 2 inches at times. So that's why favorite player din ni Tom Thibodeau. And he could take all the smoke as well.
Pero nagrereklamo to sa minutes Pati si Josh Hart. I was surprised that
was this the recent
of all
incident?
people,
Yeah,
because like it's one of the topics right now that
Right.
Tom Thibodeau is running his players to the ground with heavy minutes.
Right.
And if there's one player na hindi mo iisipin na magrereklamo, it's Josh Hart because he's in excellent shape. But he also spoke up about it. So that was shocking to me.
Right. And that's between them and the coach, the internal thing. To me, that's still a good problem because I'd rather have that surplus minutes on the court as a player rather than being on the bench all the time. So I think just a minor issue. I don't think it's going to be a big deal. And I think what's important is the topic that we ran through earlier. They have to get Jalen Brunson back.
Yeah.
Because Josh Hart, suddenly you're asking him to do things he's not used to doing, which is scoring. He's gonna have to contribute to the scoring if Jalen Brunson is not there, or else si Campaign ang titira.
Congratulations to Josh Hart, 8th season in the NBA and first time as a full-time starter. I'm sure, being that he was a former Laker, you are very proud of him.
For sure.
All right, let's go to 0-0 of the Indiana Pacers, Benedict Mathurin. You like the Pacers this season, partner?
They're a fun team. Even from last season, I don't think, just like the DeAndre Hunter trade this season, I don't think anyone saw the Pacers making a run to the Eastern Conference Finals. Now, I'm no believer in luck. But, okay, how things outside of them, happen with the Knicks and the other teams with the injuries, okay, it obviously helped them to get there.
Yeah.
But you gotta give credit. They took care of business in the first 2 rounds for them to get there, especially with Cleveland last year not reaching the Eastern Finals as well. Now, they're a fun team. Is he the only player with 0-0 this season sa NBA?
I think Scoot Henderson is 0-0
Henderson from Portland, yeah. And ang maganda dito kay Mathurin, he's also a two-way guy.
Yeah.
You know, yung built ng katawan niya also has a length. I think what's important for him to be sort of like a borderline all-star player, yung consistency. And with that team, nakaspread kasi. I think they have 7 guys averaging in double figures, including Obi Toppin at 10 points per game. So, nabanggit mo to kanina. The trend of the NBA, importante yung depth.
Yeah.
They certainly have that. They have bigs who could stretch the floor, and Miles Turner, Pascal Siakam can spread the floor at the 4. Halliburton has been great after the All-Star break, after hitting a wall nung first 20 to 30 games this season. But, I like the Pacers, and I also like what Matherin brings to the table.
Rising Stars MVP in 2024, definitely a promising future. Let's go to the X factor of the Milwaukee Bucks. Another former Laker, champion, Kuz. Kyle Kuzma, recent visitor to the Philippines as well.
That's what we do, we develop players and then we release them to other teams like KCP, winning a championship with Denver. Okay. I mean, yung kay Caruso lang non-playoff team yung Chicago, pero ngayon, on the verge siya. Kidding aside. Kuzma, great pickup. Obviously, they add more length to that backcourt. To that front court, excuse me. Sila ni Lopez, ni Giannis. Just unfortunate lang yung kay Dame time, with his health situation. But Kuzma, in the right frame of mind, which I think he is, okay? I mean, he's not a great defender, but he can be a solid defender, at a given night with his length and then his ability also to score. He's a volume type of scorer. He could score maybe 30 tonight and then 8 tomorrow night. But I think what's important is that on the defensive end, you add another wing on top of Giannis, and on top of Brook Lopez. We're in teams in the East. You look at teams in the East, okay? New York, even Detroit. Cade Cunningham coming into the lane, Jalen Brunson. Minsan, yung weak side mo, hindi naman lagi big man. So you need that athletic forward that could drop from the weak side and then contest some shots. I think Kuzma can provide that, and also the scoring ability.
I really like this trade. When I heard about it the first time, it was tough to let go of Chris Middleton, who obviously had a great career as a Milwaukee Buck, was very close to Giannis, part of that championship squad, was the guy taking most of the last shots in endgame situations. But you get younger, you bring in Kuz, but with the recent development, again, unfortunate, the blood clot situation with Damian Lillard, Kuzma has to average better than the 14.6 points per game that he is currently giving to Milwaukee. He has to average
20.
in the 20s.
Yes.
In the 20s. His highest average ever was when he was playing for Washington. He was averaging 22.2 points per
22.
game. He has to do even better than that, in my opinion. Kasi ang bigat na nawala, Damian Lillard. If Milwaukee is to make any impact in the playoffs, this guy has to be, in my opinion, more than an X factor.
Lalo na ngayon, wala si Lillard nga, tulad na nabanggit mo, he's gonna have to be more aggressive, especially when Giannis goes to the bench. And Giannis, alam mo na kung ano yung makukuha mo sa kanya, especially on the offensive end. So you're more of a spot-up shooter, 45 cutter on the weak side when you're with Giannis on the floor. And then you're more of a off-the-ball shooter, or maybe a post-up player if you're Kuzma, pag nasa labas naman si Giannis.
All right, let's go to the next X factor, and he represents a team that, in my opinion, was the biggest surprise in the NBA this year. The Detroit Pistons. I'm talking about
Detroit
basketball. 28-year-old Malik Beasley, 9th season in the NBA. Wow, his 6th NBA team. And hopefully, for his sake, this becomes a home for him because he played for Denver, Minnesota, Utah, the Lakers,
Yeah.
Milwaukee.
He did.
And now he's with Detroit. Sana tumagal siya dito sa Pistons para mas makilala naman siya rather than just being, the ex of Scottie Pippen's ex-wife.
You had to bring it up. Oh my God.
Kasi hindi tumatagal sa kahit anong team di ba? So sana tumagal naman siya sa Detroit ngayon na umaangat na yung Pistons.
Oh,
diba?
kaya tinanggal silang dalawa sa Lakers nandun din si Scottie Pippen Jr. nun. Okay, that's what we do to players. We give them away. Pippen Jr. has been solid for Memphis. But to add to Malik Beasley, how about the moments with Detroit? And can I stand up?
Yeah, let's see it. Let's
And
see
then he
it.
hits a three and then he goes. I don't know if I did it right. Diba?
I
Pero
never
if I'm the coach,
Please never do that again.
I'm thinking like the first time I saw that, I don't think he did that in Milwaukee. I don't remember him doing that when his short stint with the Lakers. Pero kung ako yung coach, pababa na yung isang team, kakashoot mo. Parang hindi ako matutuwa ron Nonetheless, entertaining. But first of all, hats off, Detroit management.
Yeah.
Talk about cleaning the house. Cleaning the house from the top. Starting from the top. Okay? Monty Williams, who just signed a multi-year, a historic NBA coaching contract. I forgot what it was. It was so ridiculous. And then, Trajan Langdon, former Duke star, okay, comes in as the GM and then tinanggal. Itong si Monty Williams. What a bold move that was. Okay, and mind you, Monty Williams, the year before Detroit, was in the finals.
With Phoenix.
2 seasons before Detroit. With Phoenix. Okay? And is a respected high-character coach. He does this move, and then he picks up Tobias Harris and Malik Beasley. And I don't think anyone would say, hey, this is gonna work.
Yeah. That's why I'm saying this is the team na pinaka nagulat ako.
To your point.
This season.
Yeah, to your point.
Most shocking emergence this season.
But he's been a terrific complement to an emerging starting point guard of the USA Olympic team in 2028. Okay, do you have anyone else in mind at that point guard spot? Parang wala na Diba? It's Cade Cunningham. And Cade Cunningham has been fantastic for them. Malik Beasley has been a big compliment as a spot-up shooter, even off-the-ball shooter, a vet inside the locker room.
I'm just gonna
Whatever
say
he's saying.
I'm just gonna say LaMelo Ball because he's an exciting player, but with his
I'm taking Cade.
maturity.
I'm taking Cade.
He needs to
I
grow
love
up a
Cade's
little
game.
bit. Yeah.
I love parang Pilipino maglaro si Cunningham. Kung titignan mo the pull-ups, how he gets to the basket.
Yeah.
Wala nang arte-arte,
Yep.
just goes up strong and then he maximizes his size at the guard position.
All right, so napag-usapan na natin yung mga X factors in the contending teams with regards to the Eastern Conference. So daanan na lang natin itong mga remaining X factors natin. We have Dyson Daniels from Atlanta, Cole Anthony,
First team All-NBA, defensive team.
Cole Anthony, Matas Buzelis, and Kelel Ware from the Miami Heat. Who do you like among these four?
Kalel who? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yung team ni Spoelstra. Okay. Well, I'm really liking Buzelis. Okay, but I think the more decorated player among the four names at this point is Dyson Daniels. And it's just hard to imagine that he was quote unquote a throw-in to the trade between him and DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray.
And parang oh yeah, we're gonna throw in Daniels. You can have him. Parang ganun yung nangyari dito. It wasn't even a headline.
Yeah, we don't care. He's from Australia. He's 22 years old. You can have him.
And, I mean, imagine, di ba, having him and Zion, a healthy Zion, di ba, nakatulong sana. But then again, kailangan din ni Trae Young ng mga defensive players sa complement sa team nila. And I think Dyson Daniels, ridiculous fantasy numbers on the defensive end. I'm no fantasy guy, but when I talk to people that that is involved with the fantasy league, gusto nila si Dyson Daniels kasi 5 steals. I think this season, parang 7, pinakamarami.
So he's a stat sheet stuffer. He spreads it out.
And it's on the defensive end. To get 2 steals, trust me, Anton, okay? To get
That's
2
huge.
steals.
That's huge.
Oh, ang laking bagay nun.
In any league, actually.
Ang hirap. Di ba? And let alone having the desire to play defense. Di ba? But, Dyson Daniels, athletic wing, okay, has the length and the agility, a player who can step up and defend opposing backcourt players. And like I said, I think he's going to be at least second or maybe first team All-NBA defensive team this season.
So I have a different answer with regards to my question among who the 4 X factors that I listed. I would,
Buzelis.
para sa hindi si Buzelis kasi para sa akin he's like 2 or 3 years away from making an impact because he's just 20 years old. I thought it was premature that he was in the dunk contest. I don't know what he was doing there. But Cole Anthony to me is the guy who has a chance to make the biggest impact. I think he can help Orlando. He's the son of Greg Anthony, who played 11 years in the NBA, and he's
Now a broadcaster.
Yeah, he's from North Carolina, si Cole Anthony, and he's just a guy who tries to be a star in his role. He doesn't care if he starts. He's okay with coming off the bench. And I think he provides that stability to Orlando, who, in my opinion, is also one of the emerging teams in the NBA.
Emerging, yes. Struggling though this season. And a big part of it is when, tip of my tongue again.
Well, not
Banchero.
when he got injured early.
Banchero got injured
But that
early in the
Banchero
season.
and Wagner combo it has a lot of potential. They're young, but they're big and they're skilled and they got muscle.
Yeah, but Banchero, when he got hurt, before he got hurt, I think the first 10 games, all-star numbers. Okay, he was an all-star already. But on his way to really be like a top 20 player in the league. And then he got hurt. It was no sprained ankle or lower back issue. Okay, it was his hip. And then nakita mo when he came back after I think 8 to 10 weeks, he's not the same player anymore at this point. And then they were playing well, and then ngayon not playing well. And then si Cole Anthony, medyo up and down season din para sa kanya. So we'll see, even though this Orlando team can be scary.
Yeah, it's very hard to play yourself back into shape after injury, and that's what Paolo Banchero is doing right now. And that wraps up another episode of Pinoy Step, where Christian Luanzon and I were able to talk about the hottest headlines in the NBA and put the spotlight on some of the X factors of the various teams contending in the East and in the West. If you like what we discussed, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and hit that subscribe button. Share this show to all of your hoop friends. And we'll see you again on the next episode. For Christian Luanzon, I'm Anton Rojas. Until next time, keep stepping up your game. Peace out and keep ballin'.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Arena Plus Network, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization, company, individual, or anyone or anything.